Some of the top drivers of the Northwest Cup Series are north of the border tonight as they look to not just battle for victories tonight, but battle for important points. Tonight, we're at Canada's home of motorsports, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, for one of the first road course races of the campaign and the first since the springtime. Tonight, it features the Turning Right A100 here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Greg Rentz. We'll also have Wesley Utland in the pits for tonight's action. Charles Woodens in the director's seat for what's expected to be an exciting race tonight. 40 laps on the docket, 100 miles on the distance for today, Greg. This is expected to be a thrower.
Oh, yeah, Justin, absolutely. It's going to be wild. 40 laps the distance. It's going to be very interesting, especially these first few laps, because watching in practice, a lot of these drivers were having a hard time keeping their cars on the racing surface. I was talking with Dan Lowther before the race, and he said the main objective for him, at least, is to just keep the car on the track. So we're expecting to see quite a bit of it. And Justin, it's a little bit different than what we are used to seeing here. We've seen it once at the Roval in the season, a standing start here for the full-body NASCAR Cup cars tonight. Second time this year we've seen a standing start for the series.
Yeah, and that was an interesting start, to say the very least, when we went to the Roval, mind you. These drivers, though, looking to try and get into the thick of things because there are less than 10 races remaining into the postseason, Greg, and several drivers are still looking to point their way into the postseason as this progresses so far. In total, we've seen Sean Breitzman win 4 times, Frazier 3 times, West Jr., Stabnow, White, Walters, Tidrick, Weaver, and Caden Anderson have also won races on the campaign. Everyone else looking to battle for the final couple spots on points, Greg.
And it has been wild, and especially the last few weeks, it's been unpredictable, as we've seen quite a few first-time winners this season. Just in the past 5 races, BJ Tidrick, Chris White, and Caden Anderson all getting those first wins of the season, Justin. So after the domination early in the season by Stabnow and Breitzman and West and Frazier, it's really opened up the last couple of weeks. We've seen several first-time winners, and road course racing has a tendency to provide some surprise winners. So could we see that again tonight in this series?
Some of the drivers who are highest up in the points who have not won this season: Stephen Paulison, John Ottenbacher, Carl Burke, Ricky Bozier, Stephen O'Hare, Frank Harris, along with Daryl Tidrick, all trying to work their way in. Don't forget about drivers like Bill Ross Jr. and Dan Lowther, who are deep in the points outside the top 16 cutoff for eligibility. Want to head towards Wesley now, as these drivers are currently in the midst of their meeting tonight. They're prepared for what is a unique setup tonight, Wesley, where it was built by a group of 10 based off of Watkins Glen setup.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to coverage again on LSR TV of the Northwestern iRacing Cup Series. And after a week off, now we go road coursing, as what Justin just reiterated on. This is going to be under 100 miles, 98.36 miles to be exact, 40 laps. And I know 40 laps to people might say, well, that's not a lot. On a road course, it is. This is going to be so realistic to the setup that what you normally see at Watkins Glen, Justin, is what you just said. And one of the key things we're going to watch here in tonight's Turning Right A100 is the standing start. They're going to come to the line. They're going to come on and race to the green, but not with a pace car dropping onto the pit lane. They're literally going to be at a dead standstill when Barney, the iRacing flagman, waves that green linen. We'll see how this standing start happens. From there on, that transition will go to pit stops. I'm thinking around 20 to 25 laps they can be able to go. Could we see them be able to make one pit stop and survive this race? That could be likely, only if there's not a lot of caution flags. I'll cover those stories and more in the pit lane here tonight from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It should be a good one this Monday evening.
Thank you very much, Wesley. I think this is going to be a great one as well. To talk a little bit more about the setup here, Greg was talking with some of the drivers before today. As mentioned, they worked as a group. 0% tape, first all, is something you don't expect to see. But second, they built it to be safe for the competitors. It's in fairly stable. They said, though, it had more snap looseness after a patch was done by iRacing about a week or so ago. They also said there was more grip in the car.
Yeah, I believe you said that they were basing it off the Watkins Glen setup.
Yep.
So similar setup to what we would see at Watkins Glen, but the setup is definitely a little bit different than what these guys were practicing on, like you mentioned, with the new patch. So this could be a very interesting qualifying session, as some of these guys, this may have been the first laps they've turned on the new field setup this weekend. The first laps they had were in that practice session, and we are underway in qualifying. Just a couple of cars on track, and the one you're looking at right now is the number 55 of Dan West Jr., who is top of the charts in practice, but has always been a threat every single week that he goes out. But road course, it's a little bit different, but it looks like no different for West Jr., as he has been strong all day.
Yeah, and that was by 0.3 of a second, mind you. In the closing stages of practice, Sean Breitzman, Jeff Stabnow, Joshua Marcy, Chris White were the top 5, separated by 0.7 of a second on the board. But this is a track with a lot of good passing opportunities. The Mario Andretti straightaway, good chance to build up some speed down the straight, then dive it towards the bottom and towards the S's. There's also the danger zones, though, such as here, White's Corner, known for its very intense final laps in the NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series, as well as the dangers of Clayton Corner. Several drivers, Greg, in practice went off the racetrack carrying too much speed in 2 and 2A.
So there you see the trouble zones right there. This is where Dan West Jr. is coming up on right now. And you see right here the setup, showing a little bit of what you talked about with the funky handling there, as the left side tire up a little bit on the ground on Dan West Jr., but showing pretty solidly here through the first lap here on his qualifying run. No one taking the time yet. Other drivers on track, including Stephen O'Hare. Well, he was on track, but he just went for a ride. He's off mowing the grass in the Peels Oranges Ford Mustang. So already some problems for O'Hare. 2-time winner in the Truck Series, but still looking for that first cup win. Dan Lowther having problems also in the number 63.
Yeah, that was in the exact section was referring to, Clayton Corner, as he goes off to Quebec Quarter. Another section of the racetrack, you see the very tip end. Dan West Jr. just left that section a moment ago, is Moss Corner. That's also an area, Greg, where we may see some brave passes to the inside with late braking, but also chances for pileups. There's been a couple times where there's been bump and run for race wins there in the trucks, as well as massive incidents along the tire walls, as Dan West Jr. records a 1:18.5 to start qualifying.
We've also seen some good old-fashioned Donnybrooks on the front stretch here at this track as well. O'Hare in the slide in the number 41. Right now, the only driver to set a time is Dan West Jr., and I think it's a safe bet that neither O'Hare nor Lowther will get a lap on the first lap. The guy I'm watching has not been out yet for qualifying, but he was the one who surprised us at Charlotte earlier this season. I've been instructed not to say a certain word that starts with R, but Jeff Stabnow, the 24, set the pole after playing possum all day, saying, you know, I'm not so sure about road course. He set the pole and wound up leading the whole race. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on the number 24 of Stabnow throughout the race, especially once he comes out for his qualifying session in a couple moments.
Yeah, I put him as a favorite too at this point. Remember, he led the most laps as Chris White mows the grass in Moss Corner. Remember, if you have an incident point when going off at any part of the racetrack, your time is invalidated for that specific lap, meaning you kind of don't want to make a mistake. Want to mention the weather though here too. This is a late in the day race, late afternoon, approaching about Ensign time 5 p.m.-ish. Check that about 6 p.m., 7 p.m.-ish. The temperature, 79 degrees Fahrenheit for the track, 74 for the air temp. Fairly decent winds as well.
Yeah, so weather going to play a role for sure. A couple drivers have taken time as well. Stephen Paulson in the 58 and James Vining, the Catman, in the 333. 1:18.846 for Paulson, 1:19.792 for Vining. But Justin, I think the goal for most of these drivers here for this qualifying session. Oh, Josh Marcy went off into the tire barriers, which is another thing that you talked about earlier in what you were talking about there. And a lot of these guys just focusing on keeping the car on the track. And wow, Eric Cheney, the 71, he did that, but yeah, 2 minutes 39 seconds. That boy, I tell you, he's knocking on the door of the track record right there.
Meanwhile, for some other competitors, such as Eric Cheney, he's, I think, happy with the lap. He's actually holding in the clutch here and letting this thing roll. A couple drivers did the same after some of the qualifying laps. I think that's a sign, Greg, he wants to stay at the back.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised to see Eric Cheney even at the end. I was talking with him as well as me, him, Dan Lowther, all on the same iRacing team. You see him right now just kind of coasting right now. I asked him, hey, you gonna run the race? He said, I don't know. Depends on how I can keep the car on the track. That's definitely one way to do it, as he is just cruising around right now. I think right now what's going on with him is Adam Purcell. He's another guy on the team with us. I think he may just be coaching him right now and saying, hey, no, this is what you're going to want to do for this turn. This is what you want to do for this turn. Now you see Chris White, the Indianapolis winner, into number 83. A big slide there coming off turn number 1. So Chris White, the 83, he's showing that he wants some speed right now. He is 4th on the charts right now at a 1:19.589. A guy we talked to the last time the Cup Series was in action, Seth Frazier, the 32, he said he wasn't looking forward to this race, but he's in 3rd right now, Justin.
Yeah, and that's with the 1:19.3. That's still about 9/10 off the pole, as there's Jeff Stabnow. And already his warm-up lap not going too great. He'll reset to try and get the tires well enough for another run, while O'Hare just does donuts. He hasn't recorded a time, by the way.
So Stephen O'Hare, the 41, just saying, yeah, I'm just come out and have some fun for this qualifying session. He's already on lap 3, so neither lap will count. And he had the same problem in practice. He didn't get a lap in practice either, but he did hit the racetrack, just wasn't able to keep it on track, as some other drivers that have yet go. BJ Tidrick, who he's a guy that I think may be able to make something happen in this race, as he is spending a lot of time recently doing road course racing. He has just now hit the track in the number 72, the Darlington winner, coming out on track. There's Kevin Smith, the 00. We talk about the Starcom vibes for Kevin Smith. He sits 6th on the charts right now at a 1:20.054 for his first lap, beginning lap number 2. So a couple drivers that have yet to come out. Sean Breitzman, the 46, saw him sliding earlier.
And there's Kevin Smith hard into the wall with the left side tire. That's the end of his second qualifying lap. P6 on the board, by the way, a 1:20 flat. But I think all eyes are here on Jeff Stabnow. He only has enough time here for one lap to try and get the pole. It's currently a 1:18.4 by Dan West Jr.
Yeah, we're down here on the pit lane, and we're going to talk with the driver, Dan West Jr., guys. Actually, the points leader going into this event as we go to round 17. And for West Racing, he's looking now for that 3rd win on the season. How's things going so far here on the road course? Turning left and right, you're right down at the top of the board, Dan.
It's going pretty good. Obviously, I kept the car on the track, and we'll see what this race looks like once we get into about 20 laps. I'm not really sure what the tire wear is going to be, so that'll be interesting.
One of the things that Justin and Greg in the booth were talking about was this transition and this type of setup that you guys are using. It's very abnormal and unique. As Stabnow, your teammate, is spun off on the racetrack again. You've so far been the class of the field, so to speak. You know, what's your thoughts of it? It's just in qualifying as we prepare for 40 laps tonight.
I don't, you know, at the end of the day, I don't really think it comes down to setup on the car. I think it's just keeping the car on the track and hitting your marks. I think that's more important than anything.
Well, everybody's enjoyed a nice week off last week, Justin, and that's the thoughts, man, of the points leader here in round 17 of the Northwestern iRacing Cup Series. Dan West Jr. currently the fast qualifier, as there's a couple more takers remaining.
They'll have only a few more moments left to go in this qualifying. Stabnow you've seen spun. BJ Tidrick's kept a fairly clean lap so far. It's one of the final drivers with a shot to try and set a time for the end of qualifying. This is his first lap. He ran a 1:19.4 in practice off the final corner. Let's see BJ Tidrick. Does he have a time? A 1:20.7. Not what he wanted, Greg.
No, definitely not, Justin. The good news is he has a second lap to give it a shot here and he spends a lot of time doing road course, but that's not going to help him. A big slide into the grass, and just like that, that second lap is washed out as he crashes into the tires. So BJ Tidrick going to settle for the 127.25 for that qualifying run. Has him 8th out of 10 right now, as about 5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. And Dan West Jr., I gotta say, is sitting pretty right now.
Drivers already being reminded about the standing start procedures. No one else is on racetrack at the point. Most of the drivers who haven't set times, only 10 total, had incident points. That's the reasoning for that time, as the drivers wrapping things up and getting ready to hit the grid tonight. It's going to be an interesting one from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park to see who can win at Mosport. Dan West Jr. is on the pole tonight, but the man who starts in P2, one of the storylines, Stephen Paulison, starts in the outside front row for the standing start, or 118.571 for him on the board. Joshua Marcy qualified in 3rd. Seth Frazier, Chris White in the top 5. Vining, Smith, Tidrick, Lowther, Cheney the yard 10 times. Fournier, along with Breitzman, Goins, O'Hare, Walter, Stabnow, and Harris also entered tonight. Wesley, you're standing by, though, with the man on the outside front.
Yeah, I jumped the gun there a little too quickly. Steve Paulison, he'll be on the outside of the front row. And Steve, this is a good qualifying run for you, because normally you struggle in the qualifying trim. What's your thoughts on this standing start as we get ready to go to green here?
Oh, the standing start, that scares me. I'm kind of happy with the qualifying. I just kind of took it easy. Didn't want to be in the very back. So second, that's not too bad. I'll take it.
How has your car been so far in the practice and qualifying trim?
Oh, it's real good. I got a kind of a half tank run in, and it still held up really good. So I'm pretty happy with it.
He'll be on the outside of the front row for a standing start, gentlemen, that is about to begin here in mere moments. The number 58 machine, that is, again, the driver, Stephen Paulison, and we're ready now to go 40 laps in mere moments from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It should be good.
I think so, too. About 30 seconds for the drivers to roll their cars onto the grid. Last thoughts, Greg, before they get ready for the lights.
40 laps the distance at a track that a lot of drivers were struggling with in practice. I think we are in for quite a show, Justin.
Already several drivers warning that these are some of their first ever standing starts in a Cup car. Who will have the best of starts? We're about to find out. Dan West Jr. leads them off in the front. Ray Fournier starting from the pit lane. Everybody else outside of Rodney Goins has made the grid. We're just about all set to go for tonight's action. All the drivers are lined up on the front straightaway. Green lights are out. Green flag is waving. We're underway from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. A great launch for Dan West Jr. Marcy already up to 2nd, but Paulison did not get a good launch. He's already fallen to 3rd.
Not the start that Paulison wanted, Justin, but Josh Marcy, the 35, we've talked about him being very impressive in his limited starts. Here it is once again, showing that he's got something at the road course as well. He's 2nd.
Already has a decent gap of a half a second, as Marcy able to carry a little more throttle through Quebec corner. For the first time, they're off to Moss corner. Seth Frazier's already up to P3 behind them. P4 is Paulison, White, Smith, Lowther. Your top 7, Tidrick is in P8.
Frazier in the 32 in 3rd. He was talking last time we were here on LSR TV that he was not looking forward to this race, but here it is once again. Kind of shades of Dover that we saw out of him. Justin wasn't excited for the race, but running up front early.
A really good launch off the gun. He's currently in the midst of a choo-choo train that goes all the way back to about P12 at the moment. Still, though, the end of the first lap coming to the close. Clean lap for everybody. No issues for any of the drivers who took the start. So Dan West Jr. will lead lap number 1 here in Canada. Still 30 more times around, Greg, to try and make sure it stays clean.
Going to be interesting for sure. 1 lap in the books, 39 to go, and Josh Marcy putting some pressure on Dan West Jr. now for the race lead, Justin, as they come down here through 2, and boy, Marcy getting right up there on West Jr. right now.
Yeah, he was looking really impressive in practice. Looked really impressive in qualifying, as we talked about a little bit. Your thoughts on how he's progressed this season, because this is one of his best runs so far this season already. He also had, remember, that standout performance at Darlington.
I've been so impressed with him, Justin. Remember, that Darlington race was his debut in the series. We had not heard of Josh Marcy until we went into the session today and saw him sitting on top of the charts. And he's just been able to transfer it over every single week. And he made the switch over from Toyota to Chevy last time out. So second start of the year in a Chevy, and it seems to be working for him. The 35 strong so far.
As you've seen on screen, a mistake was made, by the way, by Tidrick to fall back to P12 off the racetrack. West Jr. has stretched the gap to 0.7 of a second down the Mario Andretti straightaway. This is all while Frazier's get stabilized the gap between him and Chris White in the backdrop. Top 5 are currently setting a decent pace. Lap times, the first time up to speed for these competitors in the early going. 119.3s to 120s. Keep an eye on that. The fastest overall was Chris White, a 118.9 at the gun.
Chris White in fourth, Brickyard 400 winner.
Oh, trouble! Dan West Jr. for the lead. He ranks. Wow. Dan West Jr., your race leader, makes a big mistake, clips the grass, heading into Clayton Corner and smacks the wall.
Just like that, race leader and fitter Dan West Jr. in trouble early, and he has work to do now. Believe he's going to fall in sixth position, yes, Justin, once it's all said and done. So from the race lead to sixth, just like that, and damage early, and you may only have one shot at a repair, and it could be 30 laps before we see that happen, and he is going to lose another spot here. A lot of damage to that 55. He is definitely struggling.
It looks like there may be motor damage with the way it's driving down the straight. His competitors are in the 170s. He's only up to 160 at the end of the straightaway. My goodness. Wesley, you're standing by.
Yeah, just checked in on the pit lane with Dan West Jr. and the crew for Team LSR TV and West Racing. The points leader simply said that I took my hand off the steering wheel and I didn't realize I was supposed to go left, and I went right and hit the wall. A lot of damage on the 55. He is hoping for a caution, but here's the thing, gentlemen. No caution flags, only local yellows for this race. So what is he going to do? Wing it, and hopefully he can try to make some repairs on the pit lane, but he is falling all the way back. A tough break for the pole car, the points leader going into tonight's round 17 of the Northwest Cup Series, Dan West Jr.
He had a 59-point advantage entering tonight. Thank you very much. That was over Chris White. Should know Chris White just took a spot away for second after Seth Frazier locked up the brakes and missed the corner. He's now trying to close up a 2.8 second gap to race leader Joshua Marcy after that mistake, Greg.
And this is Josh Marcy's first laps led in the series, I do believe. So good for him to get up front. But I've been impressed so far with what Chris White's been able to do. Started fifth, up to second now, having a very good run in his Ford Mustang. And Justin, we've talked about it over the last few races that switch to Ford has really paid off for Chris White. He ran Chevy in the first half, kind of struggled with it, but that switch to Ford has really paid off. A win in Indianapolis and a lot more consistency out of that 83 in the recent weeks.
100% agree on that point with what we've seen as Breitzman has trouble. He was one of the quickest drivers of the Roval, and now he smacks the tire barrier. Going to keep it on the racetrack, though, with the dent to the right front.
And Justin, something that is the case here tonight that is not normally the case. Normally, if a driver has an accident early in the race, they can catch a caution and be fine. Not the case here today. No full course cautions today. So when these drivers, such as Stabnow and Breitzman already who have had it happen, have these incidents, it hinders them because now they have to pit under green to get those repairs.
Meanwhile, speaking of drivers who are struggling with some damage here, you also see Eric Cheney really off the pace, ran a 129.6 last time and let Frank Harris go. Went about 60 miles an hour down the front straightaway, heading off towards turn one. These drivers already 40 seconds back, Greg, and you have to realize with a series such as this, there's the different skill gaps for a road course such as this.
Well, the good news for Cheney is he's picked it up 50 seconds from his qualifying time with that lap time of a minute 29. So he is making strides in that number 76. But yeah, going back to your point there, a lot of these drivers focus purely on oval. So when you come to a road course like Canadian Tire or Watkins Glen later in the year, or even Sonoma, we saw earlier at the Charlotte track that the road course driving is just so different that you really see the drivers that put time in on the road course versus those who don't spend a lot of time on road course. And a lot of these drivers, Cheney included, BJ Tidrick, Daryl Tidrick, who's not here tonight, but he was in there. Caden Anderson couldn't make the call tonight, but the night that the previous Cup race ended, I can't remember where we were 2 weeks ago. I think we were at, I can't remember, but
we're at Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, that's right. I knew it was one of those 1.5 mile tracks. I almost said Kansas, but then I realized it was wrong. Oh, big slide out of Cheney. I'm watching him right now. But as soon as that race went checkered, a lot
Chris
of drivers.
White around.
Oh, that's second place.
He nearly spun it around, and Seth Frazier's now in second. So the hot potato for the podium spots continue.
And Paulson there as well, but finishing up, a lot of these drivers went here to Canadian Tire as soon as that race at Las Vegas went checkered for some practice, Cheney included in that. So we're seeing some drivers that turn some practice. Unfortunately, looks like it might not have worked out for some guys, as Frazier to second, Paulson able to get around White for third as well. Meanwhile, creeping into the picture, here comes the possum, Jeff Stabnow. He's up to fifth, lurking.
See Corey Walters struggling the Moss corner, but you've mentioned it. One driver who is not struggling is the number 24 machine, Jeff Stabnow. He's plus 10 on the race. He is quicker than the race leader in open traffic, and now he's got 3 positions just up in front of him. No mistakes for second, all the way to fourth this time in Clayton Corner. He's got a good shot, though. I'm trying to gain some quick spots here. This is already 6 seconds back for the lead.
Yeah, definitely, Justin. So 5.3 was the gap at the line last time to Frazier. That just shows you just how strong that number 35 of Joshua Marcy is right now, leading his first laps, and boy, making it look easy so far here in this one, Justin.
Chris White hit a little bit of the curbing that time in Moss Corner, trying to defend hard as Stabnow completes the pass on the long side. Looked like White let him on go. That did lose him some time there, Greg, and want to head towards the pit lane. Wesley, what's the strategy looking like as Walter smacks the wall?
Yeah, Walter's into the fence there. He'll keep on continuing on as, again, this is local cautions only. Josh Marcy leading the way. Just checked in with him. Just checked in with Frank Paulison. Checked in with everybody that's currently in the top 5. Stabnow, White, and Moore. And the consensus is this. They're going to have to pit, but it's going to have to be hopefully one pit stop, because it's going to happen between 18 to lap 25. So between lap 18 and lap 25, we're going to see a sequence of these green flag pit stops as the leader Marcy goes off course.
Joshua Marcy off in the grass. He gets it back on the pavement, but the gap has shrunk by already 4 seconds. It's now within 2 seconds after having a massive advantage. What a mistake from Marcy.
Remember what we talked about in the pre-race, Justin? This race was going to be keeping the car on the track, and just about everyone has had some kind of issue as far as that goes. And now it just bit the race leader, Josh Marcy, who got the lead when Dan West Jr. had that happen to him. By the way, West Jr. looks like he is settled in 7th place and still rolling in that number 55, but he has fallen back to 7th, 17 seconds off, but the lead shrinking now for Josh Marcy as he tries to settle it back down.
Well, there's an air spot, by the way. Kevin Smith had trouble in Moss Corner. No damage on the 00, but does sacrifice a spot with trying to get up to speed to Dan West Jr. The interesting point's going to be, though, how will this fight for second fare out? Because Stabnow, we've seen how quick he's been. He's now closed right back on in and ditched Chris White in Sector 3 on the racetrack this time by.
So Stabnow putting pressure on Paulison. Remember, Stabnow played possum at Charlotte and said, you know what, I'm not too good at road course racing, and he wound up leading dang near the whole thing. I think the only other driver to lead a lap that day was Sean Breitzman in the 46. But here he comes to the inside now at Paulison. This is for third on the podium. So Stabnow showing that, hey, maybe he's got something as far as road course goes.
And West Jr.'s coming in with that damage. He was a second slower than the car behind him last time by. Looking like that damage, just too much. And now he's had to take the faster pair. We were talking about the fuel window, Greg. It's at the very tip of making it, but it's going to have older tires. Paulison just got turned for third.
Yeah, that's the third place driver, Stephen Paulson, going around after some contact from Stabnow. And he's having trouble getting going.
Here's a look on the replay. Talk us through it.
Stab now coming up right here. You see him go low and just ran out of real estate there between the 58 and the 24.
And Stab now already apologizing as Cheney is already off in the grass once again, off towards Quebec corner. But now Paulison has a lot of time to make up. He's back in P6. That's after the mistakes. James Vining just had a crash behind him. Just collected BJ Tidrick.
That's a big hit for Tidrick as well. Vining still sliding. The Catman trying to come to a stop up there. He has a lot of damage to the nose of that 333.
BJ Tidrick now forced to take a fast repair. Apologies already over the radio. Front nose crushed in on the Cat car. And this is now starting to open up the floodgates for the drivers with significant damage to have to take those repairs here. One thing to think about though here too, Greg, the pit boxes at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park are very small. It's very easy to overrun your pit box if you have to pit, as Frazier overruns his corner. Moves Stab now to second with that mistake.
And Chris White to third. Frazier got there or slid up the track, and Chris White was able to get third as well. So suddenly Frazier, who is sitting nice in second, is back to fourth. So that just shows you just how much this can change. Meanwhile, Josh Marcy seems to have shaken the cobwebs out after his little slip up a couple laps ago. He will open it back up to 4.6 seconds last time by.
Well, it's now 6 seconds flat, in part because everyone went crazy for second, third, and fourth. How long does he hold on to it is the question. It's about 10 estimated laps till the halfway point. Chris White still providing the pressure, though, it seems, on Stab now, especially after some of the mistakes. Stab now starting to lose a little bit of rhythm now with everything that's happened the past couple laps all of a sudden.
And you'll see that when you have something like this, a very technical course, if a driver makes a mistake and gets himself rattled, it takes a little bit to get himself back on sequence, and that may be what we're seeing with Stab now right now.
Breitzman now into the pits as well, Wesley.
Yeah, Breitzman on pit lane, and I was also just walking up back and forth from that pit lane to Paulison to Stab now, and also to Vining and all of those drivers, Frank, just James Vining, and finding the consensus. And right now, the crew members, the drivers, they're on tone. Their own key level is right now monotone. They're not getting high pitched. They're not getting mad. What's happening is happening, and it's, you know, is it the setup that they decided to use with the Watkins Glen package? I don't know, but nobody is really getting hot-tempered yet here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Oh, Canada A, I don't know if that will happen at the end, Justin, but for right now, everybody is kind of saying, hey, you got into me, hey, we spun, hey, it's okay, we're just having fun, and we're about 8 laps to halfway, and I believe we'll start seeing pit stops in a few moments too.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Wesley. Stab now's pulled back the gap, by the way, on Chris White as he's now gotten back into composure. As you can see, though, some of our groupings are starting to get fairly interesting. This is the battle for 8th. West Jr. with that fixed nose, able to make the pass. Remember, he's the very tip of the fuel window to make it, Greg, and he's going to have to hope those tires hold on for an additional 12 laps to some of his competitors.
Yeah, you think he might just kind of go into conservation mode here in a little bit after gaining back some ground, Justin? You think he might back it off and just say, hey, I'm just going to coast for a little bit to try to save those tires and save a little bit of fuel?
Difference in fall off is about 2 seconds, by the way, already for some of the lead cars. For others, not even 7/10. And this is one of the main things with a cooler racetrack is you don't see too much fall off. Sean Breitzman nearly fell off the racetrack. He spun from P10. Remember, he just pit, tried to make a move on Dan Lowther from the outside.
So Lowther in the 63, trying to hold off Breitzman. Breitzman, remember, with the fresh nose on the number 46 as he's trying to reel in now. Try to catch up to Lowther. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong battle there, but yeah. Breitzman trying to close in, and he's one of several drivers that have already used fast repair. James Vining used the fast repair as well in the 333. He is closing in on Josh Marcy to try to get his lap back as he's got the fresh car, where Marcy still having a little bit of lingering issues from going off track earlier compared to Vining with the brand new car. So James Vining might be able to get his lap back soon.
He actually just lapped him a little while ago, but Vining is quicker with the fresher tires. See how hard it is. And by the way, More traffic is just up the road. And as Marcy tries to focus on the road ahead, let's go off to Wesley. He's in pit road.
It's very interesting right now, the conversation for the teams on LSR right now, conversating. Jeff Stabnow currently in the second position, riding it out, as we say, so to speak. Just right now, his intentions are to come to pit road at halfway around lap 20. You see him come down to the pit lane. That's what his strategy is right now, as again, all these drivers are efforting making this race in only one pit stop. Sean Breitzman, you saw him rim ride off the racetrack and kick up some dust and grass and hit the wall. A little damage on the passenger driver right side. Other than that, he's okay. He'll continue his Toyota. He'll try to make repairs and try to possibly pit again, unless, you got to remember, he already pitted. He is going to have to pit again because obviously he's off sequence with everybody else. So Stabnow coming in at halfway. Frazier and Breitzman and all these other drivers that are Breitzman, I'm accusing not Frazier. Sean Breitzman will have to come back and pit after having that damage a moment ago driving through the grass, but he looks okay right now at the moment.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And the reason you seen the secondary purple car in Frazier was he went off the racetrack a bit, and that allowed Paulison back on in. Stabnow, though, he is now gaining time because Marcy is getting held up a little bit with some of the traffic, especially with Vining wanting to pass but also not pass. This might be a chance for Stabnow to close in fairly quickly before they have to come in pit in about 6 laps.
Yeah, Stabnow trying to reel in and gain as much ground as he can on Marcy, who's in that traffic about 6 laps from halfway, which is when he said he's going to pit, Justin. So right now, just trying to reel in as much as he can on Joshua Marcy. Don't forget, he started 15th position in this race and is already up to second after getting through everybody's little mishaps in the early stages. Now that things are settling down and drivers are finding their rhythm, now we're starting to see some of the road course practice and some of that training come into play.
Fortunately for Dan Lowther, as you've seen him struggle to get a rhythm now, is a second back now, a minute back rather in the
John
grass.
Marcy, the race leader, and James Vining get together. The race leader. And Chris White is off as well.
Eric Cheney apparently hit the grass. Let's take a look at this. He got loose and went across the nose of the race leader, pinballed him into Vining.
Oh my goodness.
And another big incident, Greg.
And that's a big one because that was the race leader, Josh Marcy. Now Jeff Stabnow has the lead, and that puts Marcy into the position of, okay, now you almost have to pit to get that fast repair. He was able to stay out after the earlier slide off, but now he's going to have to go off the track and get that fast repair. But fortunately for him, he's well within the pit window now to go the rest of the way, but that's going to cause him to be in trouble as far as off sequence goes with drivers like Stabnow and White and such.
Marcy lost 15 seconds trying to get it back going. Stabnow now leads by 5.4 seconds because of that. And Vining, his race may be done. Remember, he used the fast repair after he had that hard hit we seen about 10 laps ago, Greg. So that may have just taken a couple drivers out of contention for good points.
And that's a tough for James Vining, who is on pace to get his lap back as he was just trying to get around Marcy in the 35. But now another incident for the 333. He's pulling in the pit road, and I believe
you're right. And now the leader spins again.
Jeff Stabnow around.
The leader's jinx continues as Chris White now gets the lead.
Oh my goodness, this race is wild, and it is not. We're not even halfway through this, and it seems like every single car has had some kind of issue.
The leader's jinx is on, to say the very least. New fastest lap of the race, by the way, from Breitzman to the fresher tires. Wesley, you're in the pits in this crazy run.
Oh my goodness, guys. What is a wild one here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for round 17 of the Northwestern iRacing Cup Series. Just went down the pit lane, checked in on Josh Marcy. A little damage, if you will. He's okay, no harm, no foul. He should be able to try to continue along here and wing it to pit road. As, man, we just saw Stephen O'Hare miss his pit stall. He had to back up and go back in. Also, 333 Vining's car, a lot of damage on his machine. He's going to try to hopefully get to halfway to come to the pits. If not, he'll have to make a pit stop. But the man out in front, Chris White for SimStar Motorsports, I just checked in on him. He said, yeah, Wesley, I'm fine. Not a problem. I'm going after the win. And right now, he is currently in the lead, second in the point standings, looking for that second win on the season. Could it happen here tonight at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park? He is currently, right now, in P1. Craziness here as we approach halfway in Canada.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And this has absolutely been crazy. And one of the things to talk about here in this point here, Greg, actually is Chris White seems to have found some newfound confidence after finally breaking through for victory at Indianapolis a few rounds ago. He came so close several times, Greg. Now, we're seeing some of the best racing we've seen from him, whether it was at Las Vegas and now.
It all started, like we said, with that switch to Ford. The first race that he ran that Ford Mustang in, Justin finished second at Kansas to Sean Breitzman by about 1/100th of a second. And ever since then, we have seen a newfound confidence out of Chris White, like you mentioned. And with him finally getting that win at Indianapolis, it has just been the sky's the limit as far as confidence level goes for Chris White. Now here he is leading at Canadian Tire right now, closing in on halfway. We weren't sure what the road course was going to do for this series, but looks like Chris White's showing, hey, no harm, no foul. But there is a number 24 Ford Mustang that is coming back. Jeff Stabnow, it seems like he has been able to shake the cobwebs out as well.
3 laps until halfway in this race as Stabnow has closed the gap to under 2 seconds after his spin for the race lead. Last time by was a full second quicker, Greg, so he is on it.
So Stabnow trying to reel him in, full second faster last time by, and we're 2 laps from his scheduled pit stop with a couple of slide offs so far. So Stabnow is going to take what he learned from that first half of the race, and hopefully for him, he's able to keep it intact in the second half.
After you make a mistake like you did from the race lead, like Stabnow did and a few others did so far tonight, as more drivers off the racetrack, Cheney and company collecting Kevin Smith from 6th, Frank Harris in the tires from 14th as well.
West Jr. and Breitzman able to get around, and oh man, things just keep on going wild here at Canadian Tire, Justin.
Hey, you can find anything from canoes to all seasonal tires at Canadian Tire across the nation. Drivers are hunting for trophies too at this racetrack tonight, and it's been a wild one to do so as the battle for 6th now reaches Eric Cheney. He lets them on go. Remember, West Jr. and Breitzman are on fresher tires than everybody else, but that will equalize and balance back out once everybody comes down. They are currently projected to have only about a couple second advantage compared to the race leaders, as Frazier has opened up the leader pit window.
So Frazier coming down in the number 32. First driver in the top 5 to make a pit stop here. And Justin, we are working lap number 19 now for the 32. And now, at what point do you think you absolutely have to pit? Like, not counting the 30 lap fuel window, what lap would you pit to feel most comfortable with?
I would go halfway. Honestly, split the even runs in half. If I felt like I have confidence in the pace and comfortability in the grip, I try and lessen the amount of tire wear in the second half of the run. How would you take it?
I'm thinking I'm with you, but if I'm feeling good, if I can get a big enough lead, I would almost think maybe it'd be worth it to try to go another 5 laps or so to say lap 25, get a little bit extra out of my tires for the second half if I can have a big enough lead at the point that everyone else comes in.
Good thought process, absolutely, as Kevin Smith's bad luck continues. The 0-0 now around. This is from 7th. Yet the inside wall, this is again off Moss Corner. It's been a trouble spot for him all night.
And Kevin Smith, just another...
Oh, and Stabnow's in the grass again. The second place car overblows the exit of Clayton Corner, loses more time. He's now 6 seconds back as Frank Harris lets him recover.
And this is the lap that he's scheduled to come into pit road, Justin. So know that he's going to be very happy for Ford Fresh Mr. Feelgood on that number 24.
Oh, and Marcy's in the tires again.
That was your early race leader, Josh Marcy, was in third. And he's trying to get it going right now. Had Marcy come in yet, or was he still out there clicking along?
He was still clicking along. Dan West Jr. also made a mistake in Clayton Corner. Everybody's going off and mowing the grass in Sector 1.
Stephen Paulson on pit road now to number 58 from the 4th spot, just now making it off of pit road. So fresh tires on the 58 of Paulson. It has been a wild last couple of laps, and Jeff Stabnow, the 24, we know he's coming this time, especially now with the mistakes made. But if you're Chris White, when do you think you're coming?
Well, Chris White stayed out once again. Curious as Stabnow's coming in, Wesley. He's ducked into the halfway mark.
We knew he was going to be coming in the halfway mark like we discussed, and here he comes, giving up the lead, or now falling back to second. Chris White still the leader, but they're on the pit lane. Car smacking into the wall right in front of Stabnow with the number 24 entry. He'll come to the pits. Harris bouncing off the wall. He'll continue along. He'll hit his marks perfectly. Now, again, getting ready. Well, actually, no, he did not. I think he's overshot his pit stall, gentlemen.
Yes, he did.
2 or 3 times. A mistake made by Stabnow. They're going to jack up the left side of the car first. Left side tires going on. The new Mr. Feelgood's on the 24. Right side tires. Splash of Sunoco fuel going in the tanks. He is down and away, but he lost maybe 5-10 seconds of track advantage because of those 3 mistakes he made getting onto the pit lane. Josh Marcy, his car all crunkled up from the first half of this race. He's now on the pit lane. Right side's on, left side's on. Tear off on the windshield. Track bar wedge, and he's down and away in the 35. And we wait now to see when Chris White for SimStar will put his car onto the pit lane. And we're halfway home here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park as Tendrick looks like he's off the pace in 72.
He did crash. Yes, he did. He did crash as one more car ducks in. Chris White now comes into pit. That was Cycle Sean Breitzman up to the race lead here, Wesley.
Here comes the leader, the number 83, Chris White, giving up the lead. He had a big interval of almost 10 seconds or more over Stabnow while everyone else comes in. This is going to cycle back around and give Sean Breitzman the lead, or will it? The interval is almost 20 seconds and collapsing as Kevin Smith goes off course again. White could possibly make the pit stop. Not anymore. There goes Breitzman. He's the new leader. White will come off track possibly in P2. Dan West Jr. back in the game. Stabnow in the game, but they're way behind as they're all playing catch up now as they hit Sector 1 after pit stops.
Chris White made it out in second in front of Dan West Jr. and on the freshest tires on the racetrack right now. This is what I talked about. If you had a big enough advantage, you could go a little bit past halfway and find yourself in a position like Chris White is in right now. Freshest tires on the track and a lot of advantage on Sean Breitzman right now in the 46 as far as tire wear goes. I think that 83 is sitting pretty right now, Justin.
I think so too at this point. With the freshest tires, only a couple drivers having pit. Kevin Smith, Corey Walters.
Oh, that's not going to help him. He just spun out.
And the leader spins again, and West Jr. hit him.
And
Chris White, wow.
Suddenly, that advantage that we had just talked about for Chris White may have just gone out the window.
And now Stabnow's back in the ball game, and Breitzman now has an 11-second lead on some of the oldest tires in the race.
How long can he make those tires work? If you're Sean Breitzman now, knowing what's happened, the guys behind you, I'm in full defense mode right now if I'm the 46. Just focus on running your race. You have a big advantage. You can afford to give up some time. I'm on older tires. Full defense mode right now on the 6.
And Chris White nearly overshot White's corner exit. Wesley, you have an update, though, on that race leader.
Just checked in on Sean Breitzman. He is going to give it all he's got tonight. Sounds like the lyrics of a song. He's going to do it here in Canada, eh? He does have worn out tires than everyone else, but he can go to the finish. He is going to use this opportunity to get as much distance possible from these drivers to try to get the victory here for Sean Breitzman as he now looks for win number 5 on the series as he sits 5th in the standings. Watch that 46. It could happen this evening for Team LSR.
Thank you, Wesley. And Chris White again off the racetrack. What was looking like a good, solid chance for a win has turned into a modified. The Ford Mustang now without a front clip in NP7. It's became a disaster of a second half of a race for Chris White.
So Chris White, we were in advance. We were talking about him being in prime position to be set up. Now he's got left front damage. He's on a modified in the 83. So Chris White, one of the strongest cars, sitting pretty. Suddenly, this race just went out the window.
By the way, the tires that are freshest on anybody in the field in the top 5 are Jeff Stabnow's. He is currently still 18 seconds behind and set a purple lap time for the race. A 1:18.2 last time with the track cooling down 1 degree. This is going to be difficult because even with the older tires here, I think, Greg, he's going to need to be near perfect these next 17 laps to have a shot of this win.
But if anyone can maybe pull off a gamble, it's Sean Breitzman. We've seen it time and time again with that 46 car. He loves to roll the dice. Classic Sean Breitzman move here to roll the dice. He actually gained a couple of seconds. It's now 13 seconds over Dan West Jr., who, remember, he's on just about the same tires as Breitzman because he had to pit earlier for that fast repair. So yeah, it might work out for the 46. Woo, big slide there out of the 46. And this is what we talked about, having to be perfect. That wasn't perfect, but he hung on to it. But man, if it could be anyone who can do it, it's that 46 LSR TV Toyota.
One thing to note, one of the groupings you see on the upper pylon, you may have noticed, involving Smith and Marcy, had some significant contact because Marcy got loose off of turn 1, hit the inside wall, and Smith, trying to avoid him, ran into the back of him. Both drivers now with significant damage. Those drivers in P9 and 10 on the racetrack. O'Hare moved up to 8th as a result. But the gap already down to 12 seconds between Breitzman and West Jr. The gap between Breitzman and Stab now 15 seconds. The pace for the drivers behind, 1 second quicker for the 55, 2 seconds quicker than the leader for the 24.
So the cars are quicker, but do they have enough time to get up there? I think they do, just with as long as these laps are and how many laps there are left. I think they have enough time to get up there, but we will see what happens if they can. And of course, you have to factor in just how wild this race has been. Anything can and will happen, as we've seen so far. So this race is by no means over. Breitzman could be in a position that all he has to do is hold on and not make a mistake and just have the rest of the field have them happen to him.
Absolutely. By the way, Eric Cheney just pulled the toe. Kevin Smith just came into pit finally for his respective service. As once again, off the racetrack goes Marcy. By the way, the grouping for 4th on back is fairly close because Frazier had some mistakes. BJ Tedrick's now in the fight for that spot. Stephen Paulison is also reeled on in a chance to get a top 5 finish as high as P4 at the end of the racetrack compared to the purple 46.
Oh, Stabnow off in the 24, right at the finish line, 3rd place. Oh, Jeff Stabnow into the wall hard. And there it is again, Wesley, or Justin and Wesley both. We just talked about it. A mistake can be costly here, and we just saw it again. 3rd place, Jeff Stabnow.
And he clipped the grass with the left side tires, and it's so easy to do so. We've talked about this a lot tonight, Wesley. So much grass, especially in Sector 1 of this racetrack, can lead to a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, no doubt about it. For folks that might not know, what is Canadian Tire Motorsports Park? It is Canada's home of motorsports. Now, what I want our LSR TV broadcast crew to do is pick up the next car that's at the start-finish line, because I'm going to give you a virtual lap and a description of what is Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. But to do that, we have to catch somebody coming across the start-finish line and go from there. As here comes Sean Breitzman. Here's a prime example. The leader in the 46 machine. Here he comes down the front straightaway, okay? He just came out of White's corner. This is a 10-turn track here. He's going to go down into turn number 1. Makes that sharp right-hander down into turn 1. Makes another right-hander off the corner. Now he's going to go into a sector they call Clayton Corner. I'm from Clayton, North Carolina, so I like this corner. It's 2 and 2A. Clayton Corner, he goes through that now. Now he'll make a little straightaway and go into another right-hander called Quebec Corner. That's the Quebec Corner. As he makes his way through turn number 3, he'll make his way way then to what is kind of like a half of S's, if you will, down the straightaway through the Continental Tire corner, and then he'll make his way to turn 4. Turn 4 will transition to a sharp turn 5A and 5B. They call that Moss Corner to 5C, if you will. Then, one of the historic drivers of racing ever in motorsports is Mario Andretti. From 5C, they'll make their way down the Mario Andretti straightaway. That goes from turn number 6 right there, down the straightaway. They'll pick up speed, still on the Mario Andretti straightaway to turn number 7 and around to turn number 8. This is where they hit what they call, in road course racing, the S's. Weasel their way around to there, get around back to White's Corner in turn number 10. And Justin Prince, that's a lap around Canada's home of motorsports.
And perfectly executed too by Breitzman, a 120.7, one of his quicker times with the older tires. Marcy has had to come down for an air pit stop. Walters is off in the grass once again in Clayton Corner. And oh, by the way, there was an air incident for Jeff Stabnow. So it continues to go the right direction for the 46, especially after this mistake. Once again, Greg.
And Sean Breitzman just has to play defense right now, and he will be sitting pretty for the rest of the race. Working lap number 28, coming to start lap number 29 when he gets back to the finish line here in about a minute. So plenty of time and space over Dan West Jr., the 55, and West Jr.'s had his fair share of mistakes already tonight as well. So I think there's not a single car that has not had an incident so far yet. But we got a good battle heating up for 4th right now, Justin. Frazier, Tidrick, and Paulson, and Frazier's off track in the 32.
The 32 once again off the racetrack. The 46 running off and away from that said group, and even more so. So all of a sudden, the fight for that you were talking about is now down to 2 cars. But still, that Toyota hoping not to make an error mistake of his own. One of the lap cars he had to deal with just came down to pit again. That was Eric Cheney for a second pit stop after a 2-minute 40-second tow. He does have to deal with Walters pretty soon, as well as Kevin Smith potentially on the racetrack, depending on how things go. There is a mistake for a driver near around him. Marcy just stuffed it into the tire barrier. We'll see him towards the side of the racetrack as he's now towed it.
Josh Marcy, bad day gone bad for that number 35. Had so much potential after leading about the first quarter of the race. And I believe he has just called it a night, Justin, as I believe the 35 has gone behind the wall.
Second.
Yes, he has.
Second DNF officially of the race. Marcy and Vining. More drivers with troubles here. Chris White's disaster his second half of the race continues. Coming to 12 to go. He's in P7. Remember, was as high as the race lead, is now 43 plus seconds behind from the race leader at the moment. Looking at the fight, though, this is Tidrick trying to hold off Paulson. Paulson looking for a strong finish to this road course event. Tidrick, he talked about his road course racing experience in recent times in the iRacing service, doing a really solid job ever since he got collected at incident with Vining and Company.
So Tidrick trying to hold off Paulson. Remember, Paulson qualified second, so he's having a very solid run in that 58. Started second, currently running in the 5th position, trying to get around Tidrick right now for 4th. Has a good run. He's gonna get it here, I believe. No, Tidrick beats him down into the right-hander. But Paulson's showing a lot of muscle right now in that Toyota Camry, trying to get up there and get around Tidrick. But Stephen Paulson, great performance from him tonight.
I absolutely agree with you as well. 11 to go this time by Wesley.
Yeah, I just checked in with the pit lane on Josh Marcy's crew in 35. Very dejected. He did not want to have comment at this time, but he did tell me, kind of like what the Catman James Vining told me, as he's told everybody in the broadcast stream box as well. The drivers on the track are beating themselves, overcorrecting, over pushing, trying to get around the racetrack, and in doing so, these are causing costly mistakes. We've even seen the leader Breitzman do it. Whoever can control those uncostly mistakes to allow themselves to try to go to victory lane will be the guy that's on top. Right now, Breitzman is on older tires. You can see him start slipping and sliding and on the edge of out of control. Remember that quote from Days of Thunder when Harry Hogg talked to Cole Trickle in the empty grandstand, that's the same scenario that's happening right now to Sean Breitzman. The tires are getting slick, they're getting rubbered up, they're getting greasy. He's slipping and sliding, but he has to do what he can to win here. And that's right now what he's doing in 46. 10 laps to go. We'll see if he can get it done here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
And he is in decent shape, mind you, of trying to secure a season-high 5th victory on the campaign. Now coming once again around the racetrack. This is 9 laps to go. Next upcoming time bond. He's actually been turning quicker lap times too than Dan West Jr. He's also going to have some space since Frank Harris in our lap car he was going to deal with just spun out on the backdrop. But as long as he doesn't overdrive the track like Wesley said, Greg, I think that he's definitely going to try and be able to hold on to this race.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. It's all going to come down to, can he keep all 4 tires on the pavement? And he's doing a good job of it right now, really settling things down after having to take that fast repair earlier. He's going to come around the final corner now and cross the finish line. Closing stages here at Canadian Tire, and it has been a very good run for Sean Breitzman. But boy, Justin, we've hit everything but the lotto out here today. And do you think we've seen the last major mistake, or are we not done yet?
Well, we just seen Frank Harris in the backdrop from Dan West Jr. He just made a big mistake of flipping over the race car against the tires. Outside of that, everything else has looked very clean once everyone's calmed down. Dan West Jr., a decent recovery after having to take one of the earliest pit stops, in fact, the earliest overall on the entire night. He's got some of the oldest tires on the track, but has recorded some of the quicker times, mind you, as they've equalized out in terms of pace with the cooler temperatures, it seems, Greg. Your thoughts on that?
It could be, because the track temperature cooling down adds grip to the racetrack. So that could be a problem that they were having earlier in the race, was the slipping and sliding with no grip in the racing surface. It has definitely gone down, so that grip in the tires could be helping with that. So definitely something to take into effect there, as we've noticed, besides Frank Harris going for the barrel roll, that we haven't seen as many in the last couple of laps. But as I say that, of course, the announcer's jinx is probably going to happen here. 8 cars left on the lead lap. Final car being the 41 of Stephen O'Hare, who has done a pretty
Trouble, BJ
job.
Chidrick.
Oh, there it is.
He's off into the grass in the middle of Moss Corner, and that was with the battle for Paulison. He overcooked the braking zone and ended up looping it around into the grass. He's now fallen to 6th spot behind Seth Frazier.
So Frazier getting back into the top 5 in the number 32. Stephen Paulison's good run continues as he's back up into the 4th spot, just hoping that Stabnow, West, and company up there make another mistake. And with the damage on Jeff Stabnow's car, with about 7 or 8 laps left, the margin for Paulison, we'll see what it is at the strike, is 8 seconds. Do you think he has enough time to get up there to Stabnow?
I think it's going to take a mistake, Greg, and
he almost got collected by Cheney.
Wow, that would have been an error one potentially with that blue machine. He nearly collects Tidrick and company too, by the way. Chris White is now within range for P6 behind Paulison and company, by the way.
So not the night that Eric Cheney wanted in the number 76, as Stabnow right now in 3rd. He's just trying to make it around. He had a little bit of a bobble up there in Moss Corner as he's coming through there now. So Paulison with a shot to perhaps gain a little bit of ground right now. It's all Breitzman up front though. 17 seconds last time by. He's crossing the stripe now to start lap number 34. It's been a great second half for Breitzman,
especially after it looked bleak. And think about this, if they didn't have the mistakes happen around him, he's likely at least in the top 5. Then everything just fell right in his lap after he elected to take the quick pit stop, and that's one of the main things. Some of the drivers, it seemed, Greg, elected to wait and see how the car felt after a lap or two and lost a fair bit of time. Breitzman, the second he hit that tire barrier, went straight to the pits.
So it'll definitely be an interesting finish here. Breitzman coming up on some lap traffic in the form of Kevin Smith and Dan Lowther. We've seen this play a role in the lead already once today, with Josh Marcy being caught up in an instant with some lap traffic. So Breitzman, his heart's probably jumping about 200 beats per second right now. as he gets around the first one, trying to get around Dan Lowther now to try to reel him back in.
That lap car lets him on go once again. Kevin Smith just came into the pit lane after some more service having to be done on that race car. It's the chance to lap Lowther for a second time on the race. Here's that battle we were referring to before, by the way, for 6th spot. And they've already reeled in Frazier and Quick after some mistakes from the 32 this lap.
All three of these cars for position right now. Frazier, Tidrick, and White. White, of course, in the modified. Hey, maybe we'll have to put together a race and have actual modifieds on this track. I'm kind of curious what that would look like.
I'm curious about that a little bit too. I actually don't know if I've seen a modified too much on a road course. Wesley, have you?
Modified racing on the road course, yeah, they're pretty fun and interesting to watch. Matter of fact, a couple of years ago, Kershaw, South Carolina, Carolina Motorsports Park did an exhibition race with modifieds, and needless to say, it was rather interesting. Modifieds also in the past have ran up in New York at Watkins Glen Speedway with the old NASCAR, well, actually it's the current NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. But again, on iRacing, I don't think I've ever seen it before. That might be something we need to create next, is a Northwest Modified Racing Series.
Not a bad idea.
Absolutely a great idea, I think. As Frank Harris again has trouble, Paulson able to drive on by quickly and cleanly, so well as everybody else for that position battle, and Stabnow again is around.
And that could help out Paulson big, as he was about 8 seconds back. So suddenly, just like that, Paulson, the 58, going to be able to jump for third. Can he get it before Stabnow gets up to speed? Gonna try the outside. Yes, he will.
So Paulson takes advantage to take away a podium spot. Can he hold on is the question, especially with the front nose damage on Stabnow. 5 laps to go this time by. Here's the bright spot though, Greg, and usually we see drivers overheat if, say, there's a fair bit amount of tape on their race cars. Remember, this setup has 0.
So it is definitely loose out there right now, but the grip is helping with the cool track temperature. Paulson getting around Stabnow for third, and now he's got a much cleaner front end on the number 58 than Stabnow does. So this could be good for Paulson to pull away in that number 58 and get himself a podium. But up front, still Sean Breitzman. He's gotten around Dan Lowther, so the heartbeat coming back down. But West Jr. in the 55 is about 16 seconds back, just trying to hang in there. It's been a nice recovery for both these drivers, both Breitzman and West Jr.
He said something about the heart beating 200 beats per second, correct? That's about 12, that's about 12,000 a minute.
Yeah, I may have said that instead of minute, but hey, who knows? If his heart can handle it, who knows what can happen.
Hey guys, how about Dan Lowther? Shout out to him in 63. Another good finish for him, a top 10 run. He's really improving the last couple of weeks.
100%, Greg, your thoughts on his improvement, especially here in the sim?
It's been good for Dan Lowther to really get a lot of seat time, Justin, to get himself a lot of progress. I think he's on the verge of perhaps breaking through on an oval. Maybe next time we're at a short track, he'll be one to watch out for. But he mentioned he's not that big of a road course driver. So good run overall for Dan Lowther. And I know he's excited because in real life, he's going to be climbing back into a late model for the first time in a long time here coming up later in August. So big moment for Lowther coming up in real racing. And who knows, maybe he can follow it up with a win in the Cup Series before too long.
Have to wait and see, but Stabnow waited and was given the spot by Paulson. Paulson, it looked like let him on go on the outside. Backed off in Quebec order, and now Stabnow starts to run away. 3 to go this upcoming time by. As Chris White's disaster run continues. He dropped back from 7th after a mistake in Sector 3 a few laps ago. He's now in P8 as O'Hare drives by.
So O'Hare getting around him. Stephen O'Hare was the final car on the lead lap before that pass. Now that marker goes to Chris White in the 83. And Breitzman is still a bit back of White. So White might be able to stay on the lead lap here, as Breitzman is going to be taking 2 to go next time he comes to the finish line.
The second half of the race has definitely been very clean. He's lost a bit of pace compared to West Jr. and Stabno, but the cushion is big enough to where he's in a comfortable spot as long as he doesn't make a mistake. The question's going to be, though, how will some of the other battles continue on? Because one battle to keep an eye on, the last spot for the top 5 is not over yet. Tidrick has reeled back in Seth Frazier still for that fight. Stabno still within a second as well for the 3rd spot on the racetrack.
That's teammates for 5th right now, Frazier and Tidrick. Frazier kind of been following in Tidrick's footsteps. Tidrick was the one who told Frazier, hey, let's start running some more road course here. Oh, a slide out of Frazier. And can he keep it off the tires? Yes, but give 5th back to the 72 of Tidrick. And boy, if he can hold on to this 5th place, another top 5 for Tidrick, who's really been having some good runs. Stabno spinning as well.
He lost 3rd once again. He lost grip going through Moss Corner. Overcooked 5B. And now Paulison with a decent enough margin to try and hold on to that spot as well up the track. 2 to go. This time by Breitzman with a very clean racetrack in front of him. Just one car and Eric Cheney to deal with.
So Breitzman kind of hanging it out right now as Cheney in the 76. He's just trying to limp it back and finish this race in one piece right now. As Breitzman closing in, he's going to see the white flag next time he comes through. And if you're Breitzman, you're just telling your spotter, oh, big curve there out of the 46. Fortunately, that doesn't do much here on iRacing, but a big one there for Breitzman as he's closing in on Cheney right now.
See him trying to reel him on in, put him in our lap down. Should note, Kevin Smith has also reached the incident limit. Drivers had a max of 24 on the race. Level 0 part due to incident limit tonight. Most drivers have stayed away from that limit despite mowing the grass at least a dozen times. But for Sean Breitzman, coming around White's corner, white flag up in the air, race is official. One more lap to go at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Breitzman into turn number 1. Boy, the amount of time we've been mowing the grass. Maybe we need to get Sensky Lawn Care Service here in Spokane, Washington to sponsor the next
Dan West Jr.'s crashed.
Oh, man, second place. And
hard into the tires, and he got help from Frank Harris.
Oh, no. And he's stuck there. I don't think he can get it out. Stephen Paulson's coming by for second right now, and West Jr. just had the tow.
Unfortunate end to the race. Frank Harris was off in the grass, pin-pawned into West Jr., and he's now done for the race. Tow will mean he DNFs and will end up finishing as far back as around P10 of the racetrack. But for Sean Breitzman, he made mistakes early on. He smacked the tire barrier hard coming out of the S's in the early stages, but was able to take advantage of the leader's curse throughout tonight's action at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Final set of corners, 38 seconds is the gap between P1 and P2. The LSR TV Toyota Camry can just coast it from here. It's exactly what he's doing. Sean Breitzman, for the 5th time in 2020, will win in the Northwest Cup Series. And for the 47th time, he'll go to victory lane in the Northwest Racing Series.
Sean Breitzman, win number 5 on the season and number 47 of his career in this series. And what a performance out of him in the second half. We said if he could just go on defense, it'd be sitting pretty. And boy, he did exactly that. 38 seconds, perhaps plus, will be the final margin here as Paulson is not even to the finish line yet. Coming around now through the final turn for second. What a performance out of Paulson in the 58. Started second, and he's going to finish second as well.
Able to take advantage of a lot of mistakes. Jeff Stabno, after having troubles in qualifying, finished in P3. Tidrick comfortably in P4. Seth Frazier in good position to line up the top 5 on the racetrack. Stephen O'Hare, Chris White, the last drivers running on the lead lap at the checkered flag. But it's Sean Breitzman who will have a chance to burn it on down here on LSR TV. Still completing that 2.46 mile trek to be able to celebrate. He's already wanting to drift at the very edge of the fuel tank. Team LSR TV machine with a big time victory tonight. And as he starts his celebration on the front straightaway, Clan Wars post-race show will come on board in just a few moments. Watching LSR TV live from the virtual Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. You've been watching coverage of tonight's action for the Northwest Cup Series. For tonight's running of the Turning Right A100, stay tuned.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized. I mean, we'll do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything. Hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold, to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customers. So you just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, T-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees@yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
They say everything is bigger. These guys down in Texas aren't messing around. This feature race will separate the boys from the men, the girls from the ladies. Can you handle racing 300 laps for $25,000? It's not as easy as you think. We don't stop to tow those too weak. We just push them out of the way. We don't run 20 laps. We run 300 each night. We don't care about what you and your boys have under the hood. Bring all you got. Don't be scared. Call my Cowboy Jack today to get signed up. It all goes down on October 2nd and 3rd in Mesquite, Texas, just outside of Dallas. Kenny Wallace is coming back this year to try again. You don't have excuses. Go to LoneStar600.com now.
LSR TV's coverage of the Northwest Cup Series from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's time for the Clan Wars post-race show. Clan Wars, the official communication partner of LSR TV tonight. It was Sean Breitzman who took home the victory by 37 seconds over Stephen Paulison. Jeff Stabnow rounded out the top 3. They're standing by for post-race coverage in the next few moments. BJ Tidrick within their top 5 in the season, finishing 4th. Seth Frazier rounded out the top 5. Last cars in the lead lap were O'Hare and White, 6th and 7th. Walters, 1 lap down in 8th. Rest of the drivers 2 laps down or more. Dan West Jr. and Dan Lowther 2 laps down tonight. Greg Rentz.
Eric Cheney in the number 71 coming home in the 11th spot, 4 laps down. Kevin Smith had a rough go. He is 12th, 6 laps down. Frank Harris 8 laps down. The only 2 drivers that did not finish the race were Josh Marcy and James Vining, 14th and 15th. Ray Fournier and Rodney Goins did not start the race. They finished 16th and 17th officially.
Justin Brits alongside Greg Rentz, Wesley Outland, along with Charles Wooden in the director's seat. Let's head off to Victory Lane because the man in the number 46 purple LSR TV Toyota Camry is now celebrating his 5th victory on the campaign and his 47th career victory in Northwest Racing Series competition. Sean, how are you feeling about another big victory?
Relieved. That was a tough fought one from the start.
First question has to be, how did you recover from that major mistake you had in the S's where you smacked the tire barrier and immediately ducked into the pits?
I don't know how I recovered. I figured, let's run a few laps here, then get that fast repair just in case there was any damage, and just tried to turn off laps as soon as I pitted and got new tires. I was just trying to run qualifying laps, trying to catch up to those guys and cut that time gap down.
You did with the pit just before the pit stop window, and then everyone else had troubles today. How difficult was it to stay on the track tonight? Because just about everybody had at least one or two off-track major mistakes.
It was pretty difficult. If you missed a shift point or a brake point, you were along for the ride, especially going through those S's. So it was pretty easy to kind of lay some tires off, and if you do lay a tire off in some of the turns, it sent you around and spinning. So it was, you kind of had to keep it on the asphalt there.
Looked absolutely tricky. Another off week coming up for August 3rd, but you get to do the Texas two-step next. Texas Motor Speedway is the next race. Your thoughts on going there? I'm
excited. I can't wait to race side by side with these guys. We're going to have a lot of fun there at Texas. I just am expecting a really, really stout field and a really fun race. So
I think it's going to be an entertaining one too, especially to see how people handle the different bankings in 1 and 2 compared to 3 and 4. But who do you want to thank for being a part of victory number 5 of 2020 in the Cup Series?
I got to thank LSR TV for sponsoring the Toyota Camry. Got to thank Central Welding Supply. All the drivers here at the Northwest Racing Series. Without them, we wouldn't have this great series to put on. And just got to thank the wife and the family and everybody for watching the races afterwards.
Congratulations on win 47 in your Northwest Racing Series career.
Thank you.
Sean Breitzman, your winner tonight in the number 46 machine. Stephen Paulson with a career day this season in the Cup Series. He's standing by with Greg Rentz.
Yeah, Stephen Paulson, Greg Rentz, 3 White or LSR TV. You got a copy?
Yep, got me.
Hey man, it's been a wild one for you, up and down the speed charts. Qualified second, I believe that was your best qualifying effort of the season, and here you are, right back where you started in second. Good run.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty fortunate to be in second. Things kind of went my way for a change. It was a fun race. It was BJ and I was behind Seth the whole race, I think, and we were nose to tail for the second half of the race. And tires got older. I was a little faster, but I couldn't get past them until they made a little slips. Then I think Jeff just lost concentration all alone. Gave me a couple chances. Finally, I could stay ahead of him. So kind of lucked out on second, but I'll take it. It's good.
And tell us about, as you're driving there with the guys around you who are making mistakes, are you just on pure defense mode, making sure you don't make a mistake, or are you more focused on trying to capitalize on the mistakes that they made? Which one were you trying to focus a little bit more on, offense or defense there in the second half?
Oh, I was the third of us three, and we were just pretty much the same speed. And I think I was a little faster, but when I tested, off lanes for passes, they're just, on old tires, I just didn't have a lot of grip. So I just tried to keep the pressure on, and kind of hope for forcing a mistake. And most of us made mistakes, and I just didn't at that time. So that was good.
Well, Steven, a week off here for the Cup Series. We're back here again on Thursday for the Truck Series. But next up for the Cup Series, Justin mentioned it with Sean, going back to Texas for our second trip there of the season. You excited to head back down to Fort Worth, Texas?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting to like those more because of, got to thank Jeff and Sean and Chris everybody who puts this on. You know, they're starting to teach me to be able to finish these races on the lead lap, and sometimes in the top 10 or the top 5. So, yeah, I'm starting to look forward to 1.5 milers. I used to hate them.
All right, well, you gave a shout to those guys for helping you out, but I know you got some guys you've been waiting a long time to give a thanks to here on LSR TV. So who you got?
Well, also work a lot with James, and he had bad luck tonight, and Frank, and setting these things up. And in the trucks, we set things up together a lot. So we'll see how we can do in the trucks. So I thank them for all the help, and you know, and Jeff guides us a lot, so works out pretty good.
All right, second place, Steve Paulson. Career best finish on the road course, I believe. Good job, Steve.
Thank you.
And I believe Wesley Outland has caught up with the Possum, Jeff Stabnow, who finished third.
Yeah, Jeff Stabnow will salvage a podium finish here tonight at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park with all the bumps and bangs and bruises on that number 24 entry. That Ford will still at least finish in the third position. Jeff, what's your take of the race this evening?
I don't think I've ever been more disappointed in a podium finish in my life. I'll tell you what, the first half of that race, we were pretty good. We were pretty fast. We drove from the back to the front. I really liked the strategy. If I don't screw up that pit stop, I think I come out of the pits 4 or 5 seconds behind Sean with fresher tires, way fresher. I really think I was in a good spot, but I blew that pit stop, and I just let it get in my head. I think it cost me. I came out of there about 14 seconds back with 20 to go. You know, thought there was maybe I could get up there and put a little pressure on him, but I didn't really think I could catch him there at that point then after I screwed that up. But, you know, I drove the wheels off of it, literally off the track, and you know, just overdrove it, spun it out a couple times, and the next thing you know, I'm trying to figure out if I can win it. They're just trying to hang on to a podium, and you know, and then it just gets in your head, and you just make stupid mistakes. I spun her a couple times there at the end, and you know, lost third place, and had Dan not had that very unfortunate luck there at the end, I wouldn't have been on the podium here. Probably didn't deserve to the way we ran that last 20 laps. But you know, congratulations to Sean on a great race. Steven for just hanging in there and getting what he got. You know, sorry for Dan.
Even if it's reality, but also virtual here on the iRacing server, road course racing, a completely different animal. You're so used to making left turns. How do you adapt to making the left and the rights and not making those driver errors to, you know, finish and try to win the races?
Just requires intense focus. I mean, you just have to stay focused. And that really is something I struggle with, is staying focused for that long. And on the road courses, when you lose focus, you pay big time. But that's really it. You just can't let the thoughts wander, miss a shift point or miss a braking point or anything like that, because it'll just kill you. And so that's probably something I need to work on, because we've got a couple more road courses coming up yet.
Well, go ahead and thank out those sponsors on that truck number 24 and car 24.
All right. Well, thank you, Wesley. Big shout out, first of all, to you know, Sean and Dan hanging out there in the TeamSpeak. These guys just make it fun. You know, we had a lot of fun there leading up the race, even part of the race. I think we were joking pretty good and having a good time until the wheels started falling off for all of us. But just big thanks to them for making this so much fun to do. Big shout out to my sponsor, Mark Walls Beard Co. You know, I know everybody's got a quarantine beard going right now, and I'm telling you that Walls Beard Co. beard balm is a saving grace right now with these quarantine beards we've all got going on, our COVID beards. You know, and then just big shout out to you guys there at LSR TV, man. You guys are fantastic. Love going back, watching these shows. Everybody else tells me that too. So big shout out to Cody and you, Wesley, Justin, and Greg for just the fantastic show you guys put on.
That's the driver finishing in third here tonight for the number 24. That's Jeff Stabnow. Gentlemen, my final closing thoughts of the event is kind of the same thing that James Vining and others were saying. These mental errors, these driver mistakes is what cost them. But for these top three, they overcame their adversity and their trials and tribulations to at least salvage a top three run here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. The Cup Series, again, that was Justin reiterated on, is off next week. And then we come back to the cookie cutter track or the intermediate track of Texas Motor Speedway. For the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, they'll now host the Northwestern iRacing Truck Series on Thursday night, 11:45 Eastern on LSR TV, as they will prepare for their 40 laps around this facility in Canada. Always a fun time working with y'all. Congratulations again to Sean Breitzman. He has now the most wins of the season of all drivers with 5, but he currently sits 5th in the standings because of hit problems along the way. This be the turnaround that could make him begin that ascent to climb scoring pylon to make a run for the championship. It should be fun. Trucks till Thursday from here, and then in 2 weeks we're at Texas. Gentlemen, always fun working with you.
Absolutely, Wesley, and great job tonight. We're on the pit lane this evening. Now, Greg, want your quick final thoughts as well, because as we hit upon, the trucks hit this track up next. That's upcoming on Thursday, and as well Texas coming up as well. Your thoughts on what fans should see for on Thursday, because it also can be counted as a preview for the trucks for Road to Pro come next week.
And it's going to be, I'm guessing, a lot of the same, Justin. The race on Thursday, remember, is open setup. So it's going to throw an entire new complexion in that these drivers are not going to be on the same setup that we saw tonight. Open setup for the Thursday night race. So that's going to throw an entirely different monkey wrench into this race on Thursday. So looking forward to seeing how that one goes.
I'm curious of that as well. But we'd like to thank everyone for tuning in for tonight's coverage. Commercial free around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and enjoying what was a wild race, to say the very least, here on the road course here in Canada. The next time you can see Northwest Racing Series action on LSR TV, once again, as mentioned, is on Thursday, where the trucks get ready to rev their engines and these drivers get to do it all over again in the open setups. Once again, be sure to tune in approximately about 11 p.m. Eastern for that action. The next time the Cup Series hits the track is after a 1 week break. It's one of the final off weeks of the season before the postseason, and it's scheduled to go to Texas Motor Speedway. Be sure to tune in. Coverage starts at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Time. That's on August the 10th. That's at 8:10 p.m. Pacific. But it's time to say goodbye from tonight's action. For our director, Charles Wooden, for Wesley Outland, for Greg Wentz, I'm Justin Prince saying so long from Canada. This has been a broadcast of the Northwest Cup Series, live from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. We'll see you on Thursday for more Northwest Racing Series action.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.